Death as a transition according to metaphysics. Death as a transition, not an end. Connie Mendez emphasizes that death is not the end of existence, but rather a change of state within the process of the soul's evolution. Death is not the cessation of life, but a complete change. Just as we change clothes or move house, death is just another step in our existence. Think of a butterfly. It was once a caterpillar, but it didn't cease to exist, it just changed its shape. Demystifying death as a punishment or test from God. Mendez rejects the idea that death is a test that God imposes on people. God is not cruel, nor does he punish with death. That is a misconception created by the human mind. When someone says, God took this person because he wanted to, they are projecting an image of a ruthless God. In reality, death occurs within the divine order of evolution. Accept death as a natural part of the universal process. Connie Mendez explains that the fear of death is one of the most limiting beliefs that exist. The fear of dying shortens life and prevents us from living fully. The last enemy to be defeated is death, Jesus said. But he wasn't referring to physical death, but rather to the idea of death as something tragic and definitive. Someone who lives with the fear of dying becomes constantly ill because their body reacts to the stress of that thought. Death, a topic many avoid, but one we all face at some point. What if I told you that death isn't the end, but merely a transition? Today we'll explore what metaphysics tells us about death, and how changing our perception can free us from fear and give us a more fulfilling life. Connie Mendez teaches us that death is not the end of existence, but rather a change of state within our evolution. Life cannot become death, it only transforms. Like when we move house. We leave a place behind, but we continue to exist. How many times have we heard the phrase, God took someone because he wanted to? But this isn't true. God doesn't punish or take lives arbitrarily. God does not send cruel trials, nor is death a senseless tragedy. A child who dies does not do so because God wanted it, but because his or her evolutionary process in this life has concluded. Whenever you think of death as something negative, repeat to yourself, death is just a change of scenery. The fear of death is one of humanity's greatest fears. But what if I told you that this fear is not only unnecessary, but it also prevents you from living fully? When you fear dying, you are really afraid of living. Someone who avoids traveling for fear of accidents is letting fear control their life. I am eternal in my essence. Life and death are part of the same cycle. If we want to live fully, we must change our perception of death. 3 steps to overcome the fear of death. Change your language. Instead of saying, I lost someone, say, their energy is still with me. Use affirmations. Death is another step in my evolution. Live in the present. The fear of death disconnects us from the now. Many cultures view death as a rebirth, not a tragedy. Death is not something we should fear, but rather understand. When we change our perception, we free ourselves from fear and begin to truly live. How do you view death? Do you think it's an end or a change? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like, subscribe, and click the bell to continue exploring the power of metaphysics. Remember, life never ends, it just transforms.